What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we're back with round 4 from the Illinois Vault Tour from Adepticon. Huge shout out to the lovely folks at Cascade Games for allowing me to use the footage and add some commentary over. On the left, we have got Chris. We saw him in the last round with his deck, the wonderfully named Platorius the Proudly Penitent. And on the right, I believe it is Robotically Bountiful Harvest. Now, I've not been told his deck, but you can see that it is a Shadows Mars Logos deck. And I listened to the first bit of them chatting at the beginning of the round, and Chris said, hey, you've got a Maverick. There are only 2 power-free decks. You're power-free if you've been in a Vault Tour. Which are those 3 houses with a Maverick? One of them doesn't have Bat Drone. I saw that he's got a Bat Drone in his deck, so I am fairly sure on the right it is Robotically Bountiful Harvest. Gonna be honest, guys, pretty difficult sometimes to figure out which of these decks is which. But I believe we've done it. If it is Robotically Bountiful Harvest, no bait and switch, but 4 copies of Routine Job plus 1 Fagin, 2 Urchin. Pretty gosh darn nice. Plus he's using Mars, so you know I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. So, who's taking our first turn? Did not see who drew the extra. Come on, someone put down a card, someone put down a card. Looks like Chris is going first, and he just plays down 1 creature. One of his Brobnar creatures, Fire Spitter, which does damage before you attack, but straight away we get a John Smith and a Grabber Jammer coming down from, what are we going to call him? Mr. Roboto. I don't know their names, so I've got to give them a name based on their deck. So Mr. Roboto there, he gets a Grabber Jammer, increase the cost of forging keys, gets John Smith down, but straight away we got a pretty big Sanctum turn coming out from Chris here. Gets a Sequest Knight down and a couple of others, and he's really on it at this stage. Oh, but here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's library access. Every time you play a card, you draw a card. There's a Bat Drone. Draw a card. We did see Vespilian Theorist come down, draw a card. A Ganymede Archivist come down, draw a card. A Phase Shift, draw a card, which means you now get to play a non-logos card. And it doesn't have to be immediately. It can be any time from now until the end of your turn. And it looks like we get an artifact down as well for logos there. No, it's not an artifact. He's just put it down like an artifact. But he gets an Ember bonus for having it, ladies and gentlemen. He's got the Ember bonus for playing it. And now, all of a sudden, he's got a really nice turn going on. Gaining himself Ember, getting a board set up, and he's got a really nice board set up. He's straight away got 5 creatures down, but he's actually got a mixture of 2 different houses. Now, that is a Combat Pheromones. Remember, he was allowed to play 1 non-logos card by virtue of his Phase Shift. And it's got an Omni ability, meaning you can use it regardless of your active house. You sacrifice it, and you may use up to 2 other Mars cards this turn. So, there's a lot of house cheating here. John Smith lets you ready a non-agent creature. It's got to be a Mars, but it's still one that you shouldn't be using this turn. That's when you fight or reap. He's then got Combat Pheromones here, which allows him to use 2 Mars cards on a non-Mars turn. Plus, he's actually got 2 copies of Phase Shift here. This is going quite nice. So, Chris goes off into a Brobnar turn here. Plays himself a Loot the Bodies. For the remainder of the turn, each Ember gained... You gain 1 Ember each time a creature is destroyed. Does he have a big board wipe card? At the moment, he's got Fire Spitter, but before you attack, Fire Spitter does 1 damage to each of your opponent's creatures, which is pretty nice. Obviously not Grabber Jammer, because Grabber Jammer has armor, which, takes it away. And he immediately gets down a Blood of Titans, which gives plus 5 power. That turns Fire Spitter into a 10 power creature, and it does have an armor. And it's now just taken out a whole bunch of stuff. Now, we did see Anger there, which readied and fought with a friendly creature. Obviously, he readied and fought with Fire Spitter, doing the damage again. And then, of course, firstly, you're wiping your opponent's board, which is pretty sweet. But secondly, gaining Ember every time you do so. So that's good. That's very good. So, a really nice swing turn there from Chris. Really nice swing turn. Getting rid of those creatures, wiping the board, and really establishing himself as having a more dominant board position. Now, we do unfortunately see a couple of Urchin coming down. Each one that comes down steals an Ember. And I think that's it, you know. I think that turn was just play a couple of Urchin, steal a couple of Ember, put your opponent down to none and go. Now, we do see a Shadow Self come down, a very nice blocker, and I believe that's a Relentless Whispers, deals 2 damage to a creature, and if it destroys them, you get to steal an Ember, which it did. So he'd add another Relentless Whispers, doing the exact same thing again. So far this game has just been a back and forth of trying to wipe all your opponent's creatures out. Now, we do see Chris has the Ember lead at the moment. He's got 4, whereas Mr. Roboto's only actually got 2. But we do see a Crystal Hive coming down here, which is quite nice. That is an artifact. For the remainder of the turn, gain 1 each time a creature reaps. Quite nice. Now that's an action, so you use it, but it's not a fact it stays around. And a Ulig Megamouth, or Ulig Megamouth, or however you want to pronounce it. When you fight or reap, you can use a friendly non-Mars creature. So there's a real theme here in Mr. Roboto's deck of doing more than you should be able to do with your Phase Shift, your Ulig Megamouth, your John Smith, etc. Here's the thing, though. It's not working out. It's not working out at the moment. Chris has just got a Mantle of the Zealot down onto Fire Spitter, which means it is of the active house, always. You then use Fire Spitter, and oh look, I've taken down all of your creatures, because Urchin only had 1 power, so got destroyed from the extra damage that you do before the fight. And even though in theory Mr. Roboto's got all of this cheating he can do, using extra stuff, it's not working. And seriously, right, he's got 2 copies of Phase Shift. He's got Combat Pheromones, John Smith, 2 Ulig Megamouth. He should be really cheating away here, and it's just not working as it stands at the moment. Now, I do see a couple identical ones coming down here. That is routine job. Steal an Ember, then steal 1 for each copy in your discard pile. So the first steals 1, the second steals 2, which is quite nice. He has actually got 4 of them in his deck, which is crazy. I don't know if I've seen a deck with 4 routine job in yet. And then, of course, the next routine job will steal 3, and the routine job after that will steal 4. And so the last one steals 4. That's a lot. Now, that strange gizmo, that is actually his Maverick. The word escaped me for a second then. After you forge a key, destroy each creature and artifact. Man, that is a board wipe and a half. I believe it's a Mars card, but it has ended up as Logos. Cool. Sorry, it's a Logos card which has ended up as Shadows. That was very silly of me. I do apologise. Logos card that has ended up as Shadows. So, got some artifacts down. I'll give him that. Doesn't have very much else. Now, he does have a check, of course, and as we see him checking, we see Chris forging his first key. Chris now has got 1 of his keys forged. He is up 1 key to 0, which helps. And he's got a very nice board position. Now, we do see a bait and switch coming down there. It's not going to get him that much Ember. It's going to get him 1 or 2. Or is he... Yes, he has got the bait and switch. So he brings his opponent down, I believe, just below. Oh, pawn sacrifice, or was that just discarded? And then he brings down, I want to say, an Urchin. And then we just see a couple of cards coming down here. We skipped ahead a little bit when an ad break came in. But we do see just... going nuts, getting rid of all his own stuff here. There was a Nerve Blast came down, steal an Ember, do 2 damage to a creature. And no, he's not forging a key yet, but he has now got 8 Ember on the board, which is huge, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely huge. Means that he's going to be able to forge a key next turn, but he has lost his artifact, which is very, very sad. Yeah, we missed a couple of seconds while there was an ad, and apparently we missed a lot. So, We do see here a take hostages. For the remainder of the turn, each time a friendly creature fights, it captures an ember. Not really very much to fight, unfortunately. Now, to be fair, there is a Quixo the Adventurer down. So we do capture an ember by taking it down. But now we just see reaping. And that is the advantage when you got a lot of creatures out. One thing we saw from Chris in the previous game, and we're seeing again in this game, he really seems to value getting rid of your opponent's board. And look, he's the one sitting here doing well in round 4 of the Vault Tour, so I'm inclined to listen to him. I see some players just ignore creatures and reap to get as much ember as they can. Chris is going the other way. Chris is going, right, you know what I'm going to do? I am just going to get rid of his creatures, and I'm going to reap. But I'm going to reap after I've got rid of his creatures. It seems to be working, ladies and gentlemen. It kind of seems to be working. Because as it stands at the moment, his opponent really does not have very much. Now, he did have a routine job that let him steal, I want to say that was number 3, which let him steal 3 ember. And he has forged his first key, which is nice. And I believe he gets his Fagin down there, which is very nice. Again, it's got elusive. Got to attack it twice to take it down. Having said that, his opponent's got enough creatures to attack it twice if they want to. Chris has got 2 keys forged. And Mr. Roboto's got 1 key forged. Now, I don't believe Chris has enough ember. No, he doesn't have enough ember yet, so that's good. But it's not like in the previous game where Chris's opponent had a key hammer ready to come down. Chris is just going to sit there, gain some ember. This is a point in the game where I would be inclined to rush. Now, I believe that was a Terms of Redress. Choose a friendly creature to capture 2 ember. We saw it with Shadow South there. And we see a Raiding Knight come down, which steals an ember. So he's stealing ember really nicely here. But if I'm Chris, I'm just rushing at this stage. I'm just going, you know what? Just reap. The way I see it, we've got 4 creatures with which he can reap at this stage. So I'm just reap. Oh, no, 5. Sorry, I forgot about Champion and Afiel there. So I believe he's got 5 creatures. Remember, the Fire Spitter is of the active house because we've got Mantle of the Zealot. And if he does that, then he's got easily enough ember to reap to make sure he forges the key and wins next turn. Now, the other argument here is, what if now his opponent doesn't actually have bait and switch, nor does he have too much to protect, incidentally. But he does, I think, have a 4th copy of Routine Job. So as we see at the moment, we got 2, 4, 6, 8 ember on Chris's side of the board. He has taken out the Fagin. Now, taking out the Fagin's actually really handy, because Fagin was going to be able to steal an ember, because when you reap, you return an urchin from play or your discard pile to your hand, and he would definitely have been able to do that with Fagin here. So the question is, what can Mr. Roboto do? He's not forging his 2nd key. Now, there is a slight discussion going on here. I think trying to figure out maybe how much he should have reaped or how much ember he should have, how many creatures. Or it might be his opponent's going, how many creatures have you got? And I'm thinking about playing this card. Quite a lot. And there's a heavy line of Sanctum here. There's not even a Grey Monk out yet. But there's almost everything else. There's 6 creatures from the House of Sanctum, plus the Fire Spitter with the upgrade, Mantle of the Zealot, which allows you to treat it as if it is of the active house. So there does seem to be a slight disagreement. I'm afraid I've missed what the disagreement is about, but they're trying to figure out the ember and all of that. I know they're talking about Terms of Redress there. Just saying, hey, I got an ember from this. I think they're just trying to make sure he's got the correct amount of ember down. Because he's showing a card of an ember bonus, and I think, not 100% sure, but I think what's going on here is they're going, look, I played this many cards of ember bonus, and then I reaped with these cards, and blah, 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 blah. I believe that's what's going on here. Seems like we're getting towards a resolution. I mean, Mr. Roboto here just needs to steal ember. No, he's playing Shadow. Shadow's good at stealing ember. Oh, now we got a couple of Mars cards coming down at the same time there. But you gotta think that was a, is that a biometric backup? Biometrics backup or a jammer pack? Literally cannot see from here. Jammer Pack does increase the cost of your opponent forging. Nope, nothing he can do, ladies and gentlemen. He's trying to stop him forging a key. Cannot stop him forging a key. Chris wins his second game in a row on stream. Congratulations. I believe I even got his deck list right, so I will try and make sure to remember to pop that into the description so you can go and check it out. These Sanctum creatures are nasty. Both games, Chris has built up a nice board and just rolled from there. Good work. So, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Do make sure you like this video. If you've not subscribed, make sure you do so. I'm hopefully going to have more games from the Illinois Vault Tour coming up. So, yeah, just make sure you're subscribed so you can get them in the future. And tell me what you thought about this game. And go nuts, but do remember to be nice. And the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.